Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of Guns and Guitars. It's good to see you guys again. By the way, when I say it's good to see you guys again, I mean it's good to see you guys again when you comment, not it's good to see you when I'm staring into my camera lens right now. Obviously, I cannot see you. But when I say it's good to see you again, it's because I'm excited because when this video is going to be uploaded, you guys are going to comment on it, and then I get to interact with you guys. So anyway, today we're doing another workshop tutorial, and I'm going to show you yet another way to crown and polish your frets, okay? I've already shown you a really cool do-it-yourself hack that gets you good, repeatable results and does it fairly quickly. But this method that I'm going to show you right here is yet again faster and will still get you more consistent and repeatable results. Now, it does require a few special tools, which I will show you right here and link in the description for you as well. But if your guitar kit building has become a very addictive hobby, or maybe even is turning into a small business like mine is, then you do need to level and crown and polish your frets often, and it's not a very fun task, it's very tedious. So if you're looking for the fastest way, I'm going to show you the fastest and still affordable, not using expensive special tools from StewMac, but I'm going to show you the most affordable way to do this correctly, the way actual luthiers do this. So I'm Dan, this is Guns and Guitars, let's get started. Now, I'm going to let you guys in on a little bit of a secret here, and it's the reason why I've been in search of the fastest method of leveling and crowning, and that's because I'm actually working on my own custom line of guitars and basses. These are not going to be made from cheap kits. These are very carefully hand-selected components. As you can see, I got a nice ebony fretboard, 23 and a half frets there, and then my custom body shape, which is loosely based off of a Rickenbacker, but I've made it enough my own to avoid any trademark issues, not to mention the fact that it is a bolt-on neck. So, and made out of quality wood that I have requested. So, these are gonna be very cool. I'm very excited about this project, but with that comes the responsibility of having to level and crown and polish multiple guitar necks over and over again, quickly with repeatable results. So, that's the inspiration for me doing the research for this video, and I've actually used a lot of the tips that you guys have left me in the comments of how you guys have found the best way to level and crown and polish frets. So I will give credit where credit's due, but let's go ahead and get started. I'm going to show you the tools that I use as of now to get the fastest and most repeatable results without breaking the bank. Now, just like my other tutorials for leveling and crowning your frets, a few basic supplies that you're going to need. You'll need a Sharpie, some masking tape, and some 600 grit or 800 grit sandpaper. You're also going to need a Dremel, and I highly recommend that you guys use the remote line or a flex shaft kit like this. It's going to make the job a lot easier. And then you're going to need some cloth polishing wheels. So like these right here, I got these at Harbor Freight. They were really cheap. You're going to need some polishing compound. So this, again, I got at Harbor Freight, and this is the brown polishing compound, and it works spectacular. So highly recommend this stuff. I'll link some in the description that is similar to this if you don't have a Harbor Freight near you. And lastly, we're going to use this Baroque brand fret edge file, okay? And I was hesitant to use this because it is really cheap. I think it runs on Amazon between $20 and $25, depending on which seller you buy it from. I'll go ahead and put some links in the description there for you. And I thought for $25 or less, it's not going to be nearly the quality as the like $70 or $80 fret files that you can get from StewMac. So I thought that was, even at $25, I thought was going to be a steep investment for something that may not last very long. But then somebody from Baroque contacted me, I think from Baroque, or maybe it was just an Amazon seller, I don't know. But they contacted me and said, hey, we want to send you a fret file, and if you like it, why don't you go ahead and give us a shout out on your channel? And I was like, okay, but if it sucks, I'm not going to do it. So I got this thing, and the biggest thing that I was nervous about was the longevity, okay? Because files, it looks like it's got some kind of DLC coating in there, so like a diamond-like coating is what DLC stands for, and that's how it files, okay? So it's not like heat-treated steel where it's going to be super hard and not wear out over time. I expected this probably to go dull after the first or second time that I used it, and that actually isn't the case. I've done this now on about 6 or 7 necks, and I've only ever used one of the 3 slots. So that's something about this file, is that it actually comes with 3 different radiuses. So you have a really skinny 1mm that would be probably used for like ukuleles, or maybe like really small junior scale guitars and stuff like that. And then you have medium, which is a 2mm, and that's the one that I've used the most. In fact, it might be the only one that I've used, honestly. And then you have a 3mm one that is for like extra super jumbo frets. So I've really just been using that middle one. And so I use this middle one, like I said, on 6 or 7 guitar necks, and it's not showing any sign of wearing out. So I'm actually really impressed by that. So if I was gonna buy a fret edge file, I would probably not buy the $70 or $80 one from StewMac, because this one works pretty dang good and it's like a third of the price. So anyway, let's go ahead and get started. I'll show you how to use this as well as these other things to get perfectly awesome, repeatable results. So again, as always, this step is to be done after you've already leveled your frets. So you've leveled your fretboard using your notch straight edge, and then you've leveled them using your sanding beam, and now it's time to crown them back into a dome shape. So as you can see, especially on these higher frets, that I had to take off quite a bit to get that nice, awesome taper there at the bottom. And so these are the ones that are in the most need of crowning. So the first step, as always, I'm just gonna take some of this blue masking tape right here. And while this step may not be entirely necessary because the fret edge file does have really smooth edges, so it probably won't mar the fretboard, this is a very beautiful ebony fretboard that I don't want to mar at all. So I'm gonna go ahead and put on some tape here for a little extra protection, just in case. And then the next thing I'm gonna do, as always, is mark the top flat portion of my fret using a Sharpie. Okay, so this is just so that we know when we're crowning that we don't take off too much material, because we don't want to go deeper than we've already sanded when we sanded it level. So then you would pick up your Baroque fret edge file. And again, I've been using the middle notch of this file, okay? The small one is too small, like I said, for ukuleles and stuff like that. The big one is too big for extra large jumbo frets, which this neck was actually supposed to have, and they kind of messed it up and they put medium-sized frets on it, which I'm kind of bummed about. But my next batch hopefully will have jumbo frets, so I might actually use that extra large notch there. But for now, I'm just going to use the medium, and as you can see, I am just going to take that medium size edge of the file and I'm going to wrap it right on top of the fret, and I'm just very lightly going to kind of file away until that thick black line from the flat part goes down to a very skinny line just at the very top there. Okay, so what we've done now is we've made it into a nice round shape. Now the files on this thing are probably the equivalent to about 300 grit or 400 grit sandpaper. So it is gonna leave some light scratches in the frets that we want to polish down so that we can get those awesome glassy smooth pitch bends, right? So in order to do that, typically, here's where we would slowly step up through different various sandpaper grits. So here we're gonna cut that short because of a tip that you guys gave me about using a Dremel with a cloth wheel and polishing compound. So what we are gonna do is we're gonna take out some of the deeper scratches with some 600 grit or some 800 grit sandpaper. And so what I do is I just grab that thing and then I just lightly press my thumb up against the edge of the fret and start moving back and forth. And I'm being very careful not to take any material off of that top really skinny line right there. If anything, I might be taking off a little bit and making that line just a little bit skinnier, but really what I'm doing is I'm just kind of polishing out the scratches on both sides of the fret and trying my best not to touch the very top of the fret. Okay, and then an optional step, if you want to take that sandpaper and kind of knock the burrs off of the fret ends, you guys always ask me how I take care of sharp fret ends. This is how. Now, instead of stepping up to 1000 grit, 1500 grit, whatever, we're actually just gonna go straight to the Dremel with the polishing wheel. So with the cloth wheel installed like this, we're gonna take our brown polishing compound, okay, and that's basically like a crayon. Okay, so what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna turn on my Dremel and then I'm gonna touch it down onto the polishing compound and let it kind of mix into that cloth wheel really well. Then I'm just going to turn this on and polish down the fret. Now, as you can see, as I'm doing this, I'm not being careful to avoid the very top of the fret anymore. And that's because using the polishing compound, it's not removing near enough material to make a substantial difference on our fret height, okay? And I really tested this out. The first time I did this, I polished and polished and polished and polished a single fret, and then when I was done, I checked it with a fret rocker, and it was not any lower than it was compared to the other frets before I started polishing. So you can really get down on this polishing wheel, and you're not going to remove enough material for it to make a substantial difference, assuming that you're using a polish compound similar to this. It's just not gritty enough to remove that much material. All we're doing is getting rid of those really super light surface scratches and polishing this thing down to a real mirror-like shine. So that's why it's important that you do use the masking tape right there, because if not, you will rub polishing compound all over your fretboard. And as you can see, some did kind of bleed onto the side of the neck right there. I'm not super concerned about that because I know from experience that's going to sand right off, and this neck is not finished yet. So no problems there, but if you are concerned about that, you might want to put a piece of tape across the bottom there. But I'm not, so I'm just gonna leave it and I'll sand that out later. And then you're done. So take a look at this. We've got a perfectly crowned and polished fret. You can tell by the way the light's bouncing off of it that it is a much smoother mirror polish shine compared to its surrounding frets. And it's a nice, perfect dome shape. So this is the fastest method that I've found to do this with excellent repeatable results. Like I said, I've done this on 6 or 7 necks now, so I know that this tool is going to last because it's not showing any signs of wear just yet.